Hi there. Today is Sunday, July 4th, and this is the week 26 Return to Creativity update with your hostess, Jennifer Vanderbeek of scrapsoflife.com. I was about to say What to Feed Your Rating Party. I don't know where that came from all of a sudden. Yes, today is Independence Day, so I got my little unicorn ears on and horn, and yeah, it lights up. It's not a trick of the light. It is actually illuminated. Here, let me turn it off. You can see. Boop. This amuses me, and I am allowed my amusements. So, drum roll, please. If you didn't read the title of this video, yes, that is my big news that I teased 2 weeks ago. Hint, hint. I quit my job. Now, of course, I didn't just like quit and walk out. I gave notice like a reasonable human being, and then had to, excuse me, and then had to rebuff rather multiple attempts and offers to get me to stay longer. Tell me your boundaries are not being honored without telling me your boundaries are not being honored. When you give notice, explain that you have an opportunity to pursue that which you have always wanted to do, and you're doing it for, yourself, your family, and what's best for your mental health, and then have people just try and walk all over that. But that is corporate America these days. Sadly. Uh-oh. Duncan's barking at us. Duncan, no. It's not someone's at the door bark. It's somebody's possibly walking down the sidewalk, or maybe somebody is at the neighbor's house or something. So I'm not super worried right at the moment. Anyway, so let's see okay, here's the big question. How am I, what am I going to do, and how am I able to do it? What I'm going to do. Please stop, Duncan. Doesn't he see that I'm trying to make a video here? What I'm going to do is write and create art and do those creative things that I've always wanted to do. Ever since I was a teenager, I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to write books. I wanted to create art. I knew that, but I just did not think that it was a viable option for me. People who grew up like I did didn't have those opportunities, or so I thought. And for a long time, that idea persisted until an opportunity arose. Now, that opportunity is what's allowing me to do this, because let me be very frank, I did not do it the approved way, I guess you could say. I didn't get all my credit cards paid off and reduce my debt to where, I can live on less than what I was making before. No, that didn't happen. Do I have 6 months to a year of savings, expenses in savings? No, I don't. What I have, euphemistically speaking, I was given we'll call it a personal grant for 6 months expenses, a stipend for 6 months expenses, to test this hypothesis that I can make a living doing what's important to me: art, writing, creativity. In plainer terms, my benefactor is my husband, Todd. We had, without going into details that are not really, important to share, we had a set amount of funds that became available. Well, he had a set amount of funds. I really had nothing to do with it. And just for reference's sake, Todd and I have always kept our finances separate because, I did have credit card debt that I didn't feel right saddling him with. And it was always important for me to retain a certain amount of financial autonomy because of previous relationships and how things tended to go pear-shaped. And so we were both we were comfortable with it, and it wasn't a problem, so we just kind of left it that way. We had it that way, of course, when we moved in together, and then years later when we got married, we just left it. And money is one of those really hotbed topics. It can be a real sticking point for some couples, and we just never really had an issue because, we each had our own things going. But this this sum of money that became available, and with everything that was going on, you know, with work and with me and my mental health and just everything, I had an idea, and it took me a little bit to work up the courage to broach the subject because of who I am and my relationship with money, being what it is. And, you know, there's trauma there. It's being worked on, don't worry. But I hate asking for help. Those of you who know me in real life, you know, I hate asking for help. That's kind of one of the reasons why work got so hectic, because I hate asking for help, because asking for help, growing up the way I did, asking for help was a sign of failure. And, ooh, it takes a lot of deprogramming and relearning to learn that asking for help is not a sign of failure. It's not a sign of weakness. So anyway, I proposed that a portion of the money that became available, you know, be invested, if he would be willing to invest it in me, in me kind of making my dream come true. And so, you know, we set out some parameters. So basically this next 6 months, basically to the end of the year, is testing the hypothesis that I can make an income, a livable income, as an artist and writer. Now, you know, there's that whole SMART goals, the SMART, the, what is it, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. There we go. I always get a little fuzzy on the middle there. So specific, yes, make a living with, you know, create income with my art and writing. Specific. Measurable. Well, yes, we will be able to measure the dollars. Attainable. Okay, so as far as attainable goes, that's more like not setting unrealistic expectations. So I am not trying to, well, I mean, okay, I'm trying to do as much, you know, as good as I can possibly, but the goal is not to completely replace my income, my earnings, by the end of the 6 months. The attainable, to make it attainable, it's more, am I gaining traction? Is there a trend towards, you know, as each new thing gets done, as each piece of the puzzle is put in place, is there a forward motion? Is there an upward trend? And if not, then we have to look at, you know, what's realistic and reevaluate. And we'll probably do that as things go on. So the R was relevant, and that has to do with, you know, your values as a human being. Well, hello, this is the most relevant thing that I have done in a long time. So we got that one. And then timely, it's that 6 month mark. That is the 6 months. That is when we will, you know, revisit and say, okay, can this continue, or do I need to do something else? And this is something that I talked over with my therapist way before this opportunity came up, when I was really, really in a low spot. And, you know, he and I talked about it, and he goes, you know, you don't strike me as the type of person who's just going to sit there and do nothing. You know, you're going to, you know, if you try this, you know, if you make this step, because he's like, you know, at some point you're going to have to make this big step. Not that he was telling me to quit my job, because that would be irresponsible, but he's like, if this is what you want to do, then at some point you are going to have to take this big step. And I knew he was right. It was just scary. But you know, he's like, you don't strike me as the type of person who's just going to sit there and do nothing. You know, if it's not working, you're going to go out and, you know, you're going to go out and you're going to get a job. You're going to go find something else to do so that, you know, you can meet your responsibilities. And he's right. He's right. He's absolutely right. It's not in my nature to just sit and go, oh, well, you know, and then not pull my weight, you know? Yeah, so yeah, that's something that he and I had talked about way before this became a possibility, and it's something that Todd and I talked about, and we all both agreed. And even with the things that I'm looking into, there are certain places here in town that I am keeping my eye on, because if a if a part-time position became available at certain shops or organizations in my town, yeah, I would jump at the chance to apply and work part-time there. Again, partially to bring in income, partially because their goals and values align with my own, and it would be something that would be in line with that and meaningful for me to do, not to mention employment, and therefore, kind of, adding to that whole, being able to do what I love, and exist on that. And then there's the whole human aspect of it too. One of the things I am a little concerned about, but which I think in our very much online and global society that we're in, is the interaction, like a little bit stir craziness. But that's okay. There's ways of fulfilling that need for human contact outside these, four walls, or, well, this is a Victorian home, so there's a lot more than four. There's tons of walls. But open plan was not their forte. But anyway, so there's that. And in addition to my own books, both novels, and I have some children's books that I have drafted and noodled around, and then my illustrations, like, my the coloring book that is still coming along. I'm almost done with the stuff for the back cover, the art for the back cover, so we're getting so close. We're getting so close. I really want to have it done and dusted and uploaded and ready to go by my next update. And, that's feasible since I will have all week to work on it. Various things notwithstanding. So there's that, but I'm also looking into audiobook narration. I actually have a relatively decent setup, a good starter setup for that. I already have a good mic, the pop screen, the, I did get some, a noise kind of dampener thing that fits around the mic. And, I've got a computer that, I've got the programs that will allow me to do and edit that stuff. So I think that is, I think that's a realistic industry for me to look into. And again, that's a way of doing something that aligns with my values, but also allows me to bring more income in. And but that one's going to take a little bit of time to get started, just like all of this. But I do have some resources for how to get that ball rolling. And way back I had a podcast for a while, and while it's not like that automatically qualifies me for that, I think I've got the chops to be able to do it. I'm not gonna be one of those people that necessarily can do all the different voices and all of this and that. But I got compliments on my my NPR voice at times when doing the podcast and other things. And anyway, so that's another avenue I'm looking into. There's also things, just like content creation for others, doing copywriting, doing editing, stuff like that. So it's not just all my work. And I'm looking at those things because I want to be able to, even if it takes longer than ideal, we'll say, for my own novels and art to build up that momentum that creates steady income over time. Not only do I not want to put all my eggs in one basket, because that's foolish, at least in my opinion and in the way my brain works, I know that I cannot just do one thing, because I will get burnt out. Learned that lesson a long time ago. But also because, even if it takes longer for my personal projects to gain that traction, I want options to be able to continue to work from home so that I'm not in an office environment again, ideally, at least full-time kind of thing. That's really, really important to me. And so that's what I'm working towards. Here's the other thing. I have done this in parts and pieces before. For 2.5 years, I was a content creator for a site called ehow.com. I was a contract writer, part of a program they started and then ended for a variety of reasons. I'm hearing something and it's distracting me. I think everything's okay. I don't know. And I made a decent chunk of change doing that. It wasn't enough to replace my full-time income, but it was a very worthy supplement to my full-time income at the time. And so I know that, and I wrote to their specs. I worked with the editors who gave me feedback and things to change. And so I have experience doing that. I've also, worked with those brands when I was on design teams. Would I consider doing something like that again? Very possibly. In one way, shape, or form, that's a viable possibility, but I was able to create to their specifications. And yeah, I mean, mostly it was for, product. But there were opportunities to actually earn actual money, and I was able to do that as well. So I know it's possible. It's just how all the pieces are going to fit together, I don't know. And then, of course, they're selling my art. Again, I've done that before. Not consistently, but that has to do with the fact that I didn't produce it consistently. I was not constantly, it was hit or miss, because that was my output level, was hit or miss. And that's the thing. I've always done it with what's left over of my day. I've never had the luxury, and I do consider it a luxury right now. I've never had the luxury of being able to put my first energy into my passions, my first energy into my goals and my own projects. It's always been what's left over. And the last few years the last few years specifically, wow, I should just not have tried that again. These last few years in particular, there we go, I have had very little left over. I've had very little left over to devote, to give to my own projects. And that was what was just absolutely draining me. And so now the opportunity to have that's going to be the true test. And God, I'm so grateful for this. I really am. I am so grateful that things have fallen into place like this. I'm so grateful for having such a supportive partner in my husband, and supportive friends. And, I've been making little daily TikToks, counting down since I turned in my notice. And, yeah, there are actually a few strangers on the internet who, are pulling for me. And that's amazing. And that means so much to me. And if you're watching this and if you've made it this far, you mean so much to me. And I hope you'll stay with me on this journey. And even if what I do isn't your cup of tea, even just like, crossing your fingers for me, good vibes, telling, if you know people who might be interested in what I do, then, that is just as important in many, many ways as just buying what I put out, because the sales will come. If what I do is worthy, the sales will come, the income will come, and that'll be the proof. That'll be the proof that I can do this. And if, because we have to be reasonable, if it doesn't, then either I'm not doing my part right, or I'm not showing it to the right people. But just like when What to Feed Your Rating Party came out, and I would take it to conventions, and I would show it to people, and I would tell people about it, and they'd be like, yeah, no thank you. That's not a rejection. I have to remind myself of this, because my rejection sensitive dysphoria is strong in these situations. But when I sold that book to strangers who did, I mean, when I talked about that book and people were like, huh, all right, that's interesting, but no, I don't think it's for me, or not at this time. Okay. It was not a personal rejection. It was not a rejection of my work. It was just they weren't the right person for it. But there were plenty of people who were. And so I have to be smart about it. But I know that if I put myself into this, put my whole self for the first time in my life, that I will find the people that are the right fit for what I have to offer. And I am really, really excited by that possibility. And that, yeah, that's an awesome thing. So yeah, that's what's been going on this week. Yeah, so as like I said, as far as the coloring book went, the last 2 weeks at work, of course, since I'd given my notice and whoa, things chaos. Of course, things have been a little bit more hectic, and the hours were brutal some days, and I was just worn slap out so many evenings. But I have been chipping away. I finished the edits on the front matter and back matter and the wordy bits for the interior, and I finally picked the 6 images that I'm going to use on the back cover. I was having such a hard time picking my favorites, picking the ones that I wanted to put on the back, that I legit got out my dice bag, my D20s, and just rolled 2 D20s over and over until I got actually 3 D20s, because there's over 70 pages in the book, until I got numbers that corresponded with coloring pages, and those are the ones I picked. And then I rolled a D6 a few times to figure out which one would be in color and which ones would be in black and white. Legit, that was like the best thing I could do to decide on that, because like they're all my favorite. I love all of them. They all have little things going for them, and I'm like, I can't decide. So I let, the randomizer of the dice make those decisions for me, and, it worked. It worked. So as of this recording, I have, so then I have them all picked out. I have the 2 of the 3 colored. I have the 3rd one started, and if I don't have it done by the end of today, because this is kind of like a self-care Sunday, trying to go easy on myself. I have been working on the stuff, on everything though. Sundays are going to be kind of my downtime day and my my video days still, I think. And yeah, so it should be done by Monday, and then I can do the back cover layout, and then we can get this show on the road. Anyway, thank you so much for checking in with me. If you've watched this far, thank you. Truly, truly. If you're out there watching this and you've never commented on one of my videos, don't feel pressured, but I would love to know, like where you're at, what brought you to my video, where in the world you are, and just a little bit about you, because I'd love to know who my audience is. I really would. I mean, I know some of you. Hi. And I know you guys are always in my corner, and oh gosh, I appreciate that so much. But yeah, for those of you who've watched but not really interacted, no pressure, but if you're willing to share, I'd love to get to know you. I'd love to know a little bit about you. So, we finished the first 6 months of the year. And I think these first 6 months of 2021 were really like the, like the addendum, the appendix to 2020. And we all know 2020 was an absolute dumpster fire for so many reasons. I think we have the potential for this last half of the year to be amazing on so many levels. And I'm so hoping it will be. Not just for me, but for you and for everyone else. I'm hoping that we can grow from this as a world, as a country, as a community. I'm hoping that we've learned lessons about priorities and 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 why people matter more than bottom lines. I know I've just spent several minutes talking about, income, but really it's the people that income goes towards that matters, I think. And yeah, there's just so much. There's so much. I think we have a great opportunity, and I hope we don't squander it. And gosh, yeah, that's my hope for the next 6 months, this last half of the year. And I hope that for you so much. I really do. I hope that whatever has happened in the last 6 months gets better. I know people have been going through it, different things going on. And I hope you make the time for yourself. And I wish everyone the opportunity to follow their dreams, no matter what that is. Thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I wish you all the absolute best, and I will be back next week with another update. Have a good, wonderful week ahead. Do something for yourself. Make time for a little bit of creativity in your life and see if it doesn't help. All right. Bye.